Alrighty guys, so we've got the Super Duty back in the shop. I just got word from the powder coater that this kit is going to be done on Monday. Today is Friday towards the end of the day. So which means that I have this whole weekend to tear this thing completely back apart. We're going to put it back up on jack stands, take the axles off, the entire kit back off. We're gonna go ahead, clean and paint the frame. I still have to figure out a couple little things like limit straps and all that stuff. For the most part, we are pretty much at the home stretch with this truck, and I could not be any more excited to be done with this thing. Don't get me wrong, I love this truck. I love having it here, but there is nothing more satisfying than getting done with the project, handing it over to the owner, and I'm so excited because I know that Leon, my buddy, the owner of this truck, is excited. I mean, if I'm excited, I can only imagine how excited Leon is to have this beautiful truck back in his driveway. So let's get it done. Hopefully by Tuesday, you know, fingers crossed, we'll be completely done with this truck and on our way over to Leon's to give him this truck. And by the way, before we go any further, I want to say a huge thank you guys for all the support on the 99 through 04 Super Duty kits. Just a huge amount of support for these trucks. You guys have been asking for them for years now, and it's so cool to finally have them on the store. And I mean, we've been shipping them out every week ever since we put them on the website. So again, super excited. We are of course gonna be, you know, keep developing. Just so you guys know, some of the future plans that we have for this platform is like coilovers. We want to do a drop track bar bracket so we can support up to like 8-inch, 10-inch lift kits, give or take. We're eventually gonna also do a fabricated track bar with a track bar bracket for even taller lifts. We obviously already have the 4-link figured out. So yeah, again, just super excited to get this project done. So let's go ahead, jump on it, get this thing completely torn apart. For those of you that haven't been keeping up with this project, this is obviously like a 2001. I always forget the year, but we did an axle swap on this truck with a set of 4-inch Carly coils. It also has a 4-inch pin top shock package on this truck. So the pin top trucks up front, out back 2.5-inch Kings tuned by Carly. It's basically what it is. And then we did our 4-link long arm kit on this truck. This truck, guys, drives so good. It drives amazing. I am so happy with the way this truck turned out between our kit, the 4-link kit, and the Carly suspension on this thing. It drives amazingly. And those 37s, such a cool truck. We have the truck now on our jack stands, and before we start tearing the suspension apart, well, we actually started doing one thing already, which is Linus went ahead and started cleaning up the frame. So we're gonna paint pretty much this entire frame once we get all the brackets off. Before I can take off the suspension on this truck, Leon really wanted to run limit straps on this setup because he does push this truck hard, and those are some really nice, expensive shocks that he wants to protect. So he wants to run limit straps on all 4 corners, and right now I'm working on the rear setup. So now, if you guys know me, 1, I'm not a fan of welding to frames, and 2, I always like using as many of the existing holes in a frame as possible to install new brackets, which was kind of the route that we decided to go with these limit straps. As you kind of see, I already have it set up. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But I was having a really hard time finding a good spot for the limit straps. I did think about kind of just welding them right here and then running a tab down to the axle, but like this whole area gets pretty crowded and I didn't like that. So I started kind of messing around, playing with the limit straps, everything. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of holes in this area, so I decided to run it inside of the frame, and let me show you. So I'll show you a better shot of the bracket outside of the frame, but that is kind of more or less what we came up with right there. We are also using these TMR limit strap adjustable clevises, or whatever they're called. That way, because limit straps over time, they'll stretch, so that is going to allow him to re-tighten them as we go. So again, we used 2 bolts on the frame, and then we actually used the, I don't know if you can see right there, but the bolt that the bump stop uses. So that bracket has 3 bolts holding it to the frame, and it's reinforced pretty solidly. So I'm actually really happy with the way that it came out. And then on the axle side, what we're gonna do is weld a little bracket like this that's gonna get bolted in there. Now I know what you're thinking is, hey Joel, that is way too short right there. But that's by design. So whenever you're installing limit straps, you want your suspension at full droop, which is where it's at right now. As you can see, the axle is hanging basically just by the shocks right now, which is full droop. The point of the limit straps is to protect the shock. So you don't want to have the limit strap installed at full droop. You actually want that about 1 inch of protection for the shock. Plus, like, the limit strap itself will stretch as the axle travels downward and pulls on it. That right there should be perfect to be able to keep these shocks nice and safe. And then again, like I said, we are using those adjustable clevises for the limit strap. So if we need to, we can even put a little bit more tension on the limit strap. But again, by welding that little bracket to the axle, that should be more than enough. So I'm really happy with that. I freaking love the laser and like the stuff that I'm like, how clean I'm able to make parts now. So like, this is gonna be one of the brackets for the other side. And as you can see, we're tabbing everything now because it just makes it so much easier to build. We can also edge on it. So like that little square is where the TMR little block gets welded to this plate. So now my welders or me, I don't have to do any sort of laying out or anything. The laser already did it for us. We just gotta throw that little block on there and weld it. And then we even threw that little hole in there. Like, look how clean that is. That's beautiful. Like, don't mind that. But the hole itself is so nice, so beautiful, so crisp. I love that laser. But basically that hole's right there because there is a wiring harness that you have to move out of the way a little bit. And in order to keep it still nice and safe, we threw that hole in there so you can zip tie it to our bracket. So that way it'll be nice and tucked out of the way. It won't be flopping around. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, get these other ones bent and welded, throw it in the truck. All we gotta do on the axle side is just mark where that other bracket's gonna go. Because once everything's in place, we're gonna take the axle out, grind it, clean it up. We're gonna weld both those brackets to the axle. We're actually gonna weld the shock bracket too. So these things, this being an 05 axle, it comes with U-bolt mounted shock mounts. And then for the front side, it should be quite a bit easier because for one, the powder coated arms that we did for it, I built a little tab for the limit strap into it. And then I'm pretty sure we're gonna use these 2 bolts to make a little bracket for the frame side. So we should be fine right there. I'm gonna go ahead, get those parts bent, get them welded and throw them in the truck. And then once we're done with that, see ya. We'll go ahead, tear the truck completely apart, start painting the frame, and then we'll throw the brackets on, check the alignment one last time, and get this truck out of here. And again, we're gonna pull that burgundy truck in, and I'm so excited to work on that thing, man. That thing is so cool. And now that we have this thing, we're actually gonna be doing a couple of things that I've never done on a build before. So again, super excited about that. Let's get to it. Another thing that I want to show you guys is just how fine of a line the laser cuts. So like that little line, as you can see, maybe it cut through. Like that's how thick the laser cuts all the way around. Like that is nothing. It's crazy. Blows my mind. Anyways, all we gotta do is bend these 2 parts, and everything else will just be welded together. And just in case you're wondering what that little line is for, which actually we gotta make it a little bit longer, but it's to try and keep that hole as round as possible. We are going to go back and weld it again, but again, that helps that hole not get deformed like it did right now. So what I got to do is just make it a little bit longer on either side, and it'll keep that hole nice and round and won't deform it. And assembly should be relatively easy on these things. Made these things to be tabbed together. Now that being said, I did make the tabs a little bit on the tighter side, so we'll see how this goes. So this is gonna be passenger side. When I did the prototype one, it was a little bit of a pain to get everything to go together. So we'll see if I can do it again. Actually, I better be able to do it again because I already cut everything. And now we just gotta use a little bit of love. We might have been building the wrong one. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so then this goes like this. There we go. I definitely got to add a little bit more play to them just to make it a little bit easier to build, because I know that my welder would not like that. Alrighty guys, so quick update time on Leon's Super Duty. We have the old kit completely removed off of the truck, and my buddy Linus and I have been working over the last couple of days on putting the new kit on the truck. So we have basically the entire kit on the truck. So we've got the rear hangers, 4-link mounts, oil buckets, track bar, sway bar. One thing to mention about the sway bar that I've found out is that you have to use the 05 through 07 sway bar. The 08 plus sway bars are too long and they don't work in this particular platform. And it's not like on the OBS trucks where I can make an offset bracket for them, because it actually, the sway bar is so long that it actually comes into contact with the radiator. So that's the only thing that you guys will have to keep in mind, is that you will have to source an 05 through 07 sway bar, which you can make it work with whatever axle you use. You just gotta find the correct sway bar lengths, which is something that I can help you guys with if it comes to that. The truck, all the brackets are in. Linus right now is working on replacing some of these old vent tubes. When we lowered the tank, they all basically fell apart. So we're replacing those with some fuel grade vent tubes lines. And then on the axle side, we went ahead and it's actually a lot cooler today. But it's monsoon season in Arizona. So as you can see, we've got all the rain and also all the humidity. It's in like the high 60s, I think, which is not a lot, I know, but still. Anyways, we went ahead and welded these limit strap tabs on the frame, on the axle. And then I also welded this shock mount in place too, because I was only held in with U-bolts and the centering pin wasn't really being used, I guess. So it had actually twisted a little bit. So we just welded that in place. So all of that is good to go. We sprayed some spray paint. The only thing that I have to do is this little line, as you can see, wants to fight for the same space as this limit strap bracket. And actually, when I was trying to bend it out of the way, it cracked. So we're gonna remake that little line. But anyways, I believe the last time that I showed you my brake line making setup, all I had was my flaring tool, which I freaking love, this flaring tool, and then all my fittings. And ever since then, I've gotten a couple new pretty cool tools that are essential and make brake line making a lot easier. So I went ahead and bought one of these line or tube straighteners, and then I got these pretty cool small radius benders from Nitrous Outlet, out of all things. And these things are super nice. So I got one for 3/16 and I got one for 1/4 inch. And these things, they are such nice high quality tools, and they're the most fun fidget tools that you can play with. So anyways, I'm pretty excited to try them out. I've had that one for a little while, so that's already proven works really well. This is gonna be the first time that I tried these, which again, I'm super excited because they're nice. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead, get the lines made. I'll show you how the new tools work, and we'll make that brake line real quick. Also, talking about tools, check this out. I can now make my own tools with the laser. Now, obviously, I can make them with the plasma too, but the laser just does such a beautiful job. So I needed some wrenches for the jam nuts on the links, and I went ahead and made this little wrench, as well as a crow's foot, so we can actually torque the nuts, or if we gotta put more leverage onto them. Went ahead and got these two made real quick. Pretty excited about that. They work beautiful too, by the way. And I got all this stuff off of Amazon. I'll leave you guys a link down below. Well, at least to this. The tubing benders, I got them. I'll leave you the website below too, but it's from the Nitrous Outlet. I've got all my supplies ready. I've got my fittings and my tube. So we're gonna clean up the end, really important. Get it nice and clean. Do the other end once we figure out exactly how long we gotta make it. But I like doing both the inside and the outside. And this is just an Eastwood tool for cleaning. Now typically you wanna have your fitting inside the line, but since for now this is just a straight tube, we can get away with not having it in there. Now we're gonna put the line in the tool. I mean, not that it needs a lot of force, but I do want to make sure that it pushes it all the way in as it should be. So now that we got both operations done, this back to operation 0, get this thing pulled out and check that out. Now we can drop in this thing and she'll be good. And now that I'm going to bend it, now I want to make sure that that fitting is in there, because once we put that 90, we're not going to be able to get this fitting into the line. Okay, so I've got this thing set up. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but I've got my mark on the 0, the fitting in place, and this needs to be at about a 90. So that's about where we're going to try and give it. And 90. God, this thing's so satisfying to use, guys. There we go. I think I actually gave it a little bit more than a 90. But I'm gonna go ahead and test it on the axle, and then we'll mark the next bend. Okay, so real quick, we've got it coming from this little junction block out, 90 down, and then I want a 90 over. And I don't know if I'm gonna go 90 and then 90 again, or maybe like 45 and 45. But first I wanna kind of get this thing where it's at. Now, I marked it where I want it to be the center. So we gotta take off, I think it's like a 1/4 inch to where it's actually gonna start at, but I'll figure that out here in a little bit. So now that we have the axle under the truck, Linus is gonna go ahead and run the parking brake lines and all that stuff. Meanwhile, I'm gonna be installing the blocks, U-bolts, and our new traction bar mounts, because of course, we're gonna be running some traction bars with this build. And I gotta say, I'm super happy with the way that these things came out. I think they're a really cool looking piece, and we should have in a couple of weeks, a couple options for traction bars on our website. We've been getting asked for these things for the longest time now. So we're gonna have two options. One, where you can buy them with our 4-link kits, specifically for like the single caps, or you can get a full length cradle, but that's coming in a little bit, at least the cradle version. The regular 4-link mount for the single caps, that's already done. Same for the extended caps actually. But we are gonna have a standalone version of these things with its own frame side mount. We just have to get that finalized, at least for the OBS trucks. We'll be doing it for the Super Duties also, of course, but the one that we have closer to being done is for the OBS trucks. And again, these are just bolts on. But anyways, I'll show you all that once it's under the truck. Like I said, we're gonna go ahead, get all this set up. These are our blocks, by the way, in case you guys haven't seen them. These are actually our brand new design of blocks that are completely fabricated. We're gonna go ahead, get this under the truck. Basically at that point, well, we gotta do the links up front, and we'll be ready to get this truck back under its own weight. Alrighty guys, so we're almost done with this truck. Like, this is literally all the parts that are left to go on the truck. We've got the bottom 4-link mount, the bottom link on the passenger side, the 2 traction bars. That's what our traction bar mount looks like. And yeah, I mean, very, very solid setup. Really happy with the way that all of this is turning out. All we have left is to install the traction bars, but we're not gonna do that until the truck is down under its own weight. We also went ahead and installed the rear limit straps. I think those turned out pretty clean. So that right there, if you can maybe catch a good glimpse, is what that bracket that we came up with looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead, do the other link, get that done, and then I gotta come over here to the front end, install the front shock, because I need the front shock on the truck so that I can figure out exactly how we're gonna do this limit strap. I already have a pretty good idea of what we're gonna do, but I really need the shock in place to kind of visualize exactly where it's gonna go and how long the limit strap needs to be. I had already measured everything a while ago, and I ordered some limit straps. I got a pretty good variety of them, just in case I was a little bit off. We should be good regardless of where it ends up at, but it's always good to have some options. Again, Linus has been a huge help on this project. He also did go ahead and take off all of the steering on the truck, because this truck is getting upgraded to an RPM steering kit. Very, very excited about that. This beautiful RPM steering kit for the Super Duty. Again, this thing is super, super beefy. Everything about this is just so nice. We've got some big old billet aluminum. These are technically rods. I think I called them tubes on my last video, but it's a rod that they drill and tap on both ends. And again, just beautiful, like all The rod ends are just super nice, heavy duty. Like, look at those big jam nuts, which again, this jam nut is what sets this kit apart. Well, one of the things that sets this kit apart from any other kit in the market. This thing's not gonna come loose on you. Your alignment, everything's gonna stay nice and tight and where it should be. Linus already went ahead and gave me a hand removing all the old steering. All we gotta do now is take measurements on this steering so we can copy it to that one, and we should have a better starting point on our alignment. So I'm gonna go ahead, get all this stuff set up, throw it on the truck, and kind of show you my process to check the alignment, at least for the toe. And then once we have the truck on the ground, we'll set the distance on the drag link, because that's what centers your steering wheel. All right guys, so we took off the old steering stabilizer stud that we had on that drag link, and that thing came with the King steering stabilizer that we got for this truck. You're able to use it with this steering kit. It does come with a small bushing that you got to use in there, so make sure you don't lose it. This stud should be in the same orientation as the stud for the rod end, because they both go from the top. Now that that's ready, we'll go ahead, throw the drag link first, because you need this end to go through the tie rod. So you wanna, what side do you want to get, Linus? You can put it in first. Since you have the hard side. All right, let's be beefy. Yeah, I thought that this was gonna work for both, but turns out that the one for the bottom tire rod was bigger. So this one only works for the drag link, and then I'm gonna have to make a bigger one that works for the tie rod, which is not a big deal. Thanks, Linus. Yeah, guys, that's some nice stuff. Alrighty, guys, so we got the steering in and we've got the toe set, and this is basically the setup that we use to check my toe. So I made a homemade set of, I guess, toe alignment plates, or what you might call it, and all it is just 2 tape measures hooked up on the same end, the same way on both sides. It also helps if they're like the same tape measure. We've got 2 Milwaukees that I bought together, and basically what we're doing is checking the measurement from there to there and from there to there, and we set it in anywhere from about a 1/16 to an 1/8 is good on these trucks. So that's about what I have it set at. Now that we have that, the tie rod is basically good to go. We can go ahead and get that tight. The drag link to align the wheel, the steering wheel, we'll leave that until the truck is down and it's under its own weight, and I have the axle centered under the truck. That way the drag link has to always be the very last thing that you align on these trucks. That way your steering wheel is not going to move on you, and it'll be nice and centered. A couple things to keep in mind: you want to have the axle level, and you want to have these two at about the same angle. Very simple. I kind of just measure it off of that line and that line right there, because for me that's the easiest one to see. And it does help if you have a buddy on the other side holding the tape measure for you, but it's not necessary. But yeah, guys, we are getting there. So what I'm going to do now is take off that shock, at least from the bottom, so that we can put in the coil springs. Do the same on the other side. Throw the, well, actually I gotta test the limit strap first, just to make sure that it is gonna work the way that I need it to. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, test that first. Let me show you what we made. So this right here is basically it. Super simple. We should be good to go. I'm gonna go throw those on, get them tight, test on the limit strap. I think, yeah, that's the last thing that we gotta do before we can actually put the coils on this thing and lower it back down to the ground. A little long, but it's just to hold the place right now, so I can go get the right side length bolt. So I'm at the tail end of being done with this truck, we only have a couple things left to do, which is basically check the caster on this thing, center the axle under the truck, and once those two things are good, we'll go ahead and torque the four-link. Everything else on the truck has already been torqued, but those things we got to leave till the very end in case we got to make adjustments. And I do want to show you a couple of things that I use to do my alignment. I guess first thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that the axle is centered under the truck. So first of all, make sure that your wheels are straight, you know, not turned. And then what we're gonna do, again, our track bar bracket is adjustable, so that's how we center the axle under the truck as well. The adjustable track bar bracket and some shims that go where that bolt is at. In this method, it's gonna seem very simple because it is, but I actually learned it from probably the best alignment shop that I've ever worked with, to be so semi-local to me that unfortunately they closed. But it was a legit off-road shop, and I asked them, I was like, hey, how do you check, how do you center the axle, how do you make sure that it's centered under the truck? And he said it's very simple. You just take a measurement from the frame to a place on your tire, and you do that on both sides. Now it has to be the same place on the frame and like the same tire lug. And what I mean by that is that you'll see how this lug is different to that lug. If you're gonna use like that corner right there, you better be sure that you do the same on the other side. So you take that measurement and you take the difference and divide it in half. So say that you're half an inch, the axle's sticking out half an inch further to the driver's side than the passenger side. So essentially what you need is a 1/4 of an inch towards the passenger side. That way it centers it. You find your shim that's closest to that 1/4 that you need, and you install it pointing in the direction that you need it to go. So again, very simple. And let me see if I can do a quick kind of like walkthrough of how we do this. So I'm gonna go to the front upper bolt on the coil bucket, and then I'm gonna go to this lug right here. It's really gonna help if the tire's in about the same place on both sides, so that you can use the same lug. So I'm about 18.5 inches to the edge of that lug that I'm talking about here, that I'm looking at. So let's go to the other side. Okay, so we're now over here at the passenger side. Again, upper bolt towards the front on the coil bucket, and we're gonna find again that same lug. And on this side we are at 18 3/4, which means that the axle is it's a 1/4 of an inch towards the passenger side, which means that I need to go about 1/8 of an inch towards the driver's side. So now these right here are our shims that I'm talking about, that are for adjusting your axle. And as you can see, we have 3 shims. We have centered, slightly off center, and all the way over to the edge. These things you can, you know, obviously flip them to go from center to either direction. I believe right now we're on this one, and we're gonna have to go I believe to this one. Well, we're either here or here, one of these two. Let me go check. There's only just a bolt going through the track bar, so it might not even be in any real slot. These track bars do have little that little pattern cut into it, so it should hopefully be holding about close to one of those spots. Okay, so we're actually all the way over to the passenger side, so we have to go one slot over towards the driver's side, and that should hopefully get us close to being centered. So let me go ahead, get that set up, and we'll come back. But yeah, right now it's basically here, and we're gonna go to this. Oh, also another thing to keep in mind, these are by design meant to be snug in your track bar. Maybe not snug, but the tolerances are a little bit tight, and if you powder coat this area where they go, or these shims themselves, they might not fit, and you might have to clean off this area and the area that's going to be mating to the track bar. So just keep that in mind. Good to go. And again, these are the shims that they go in, the rings that the shims go into. They're pretty tight clearance in there, but that's by design. So I'm gonna go ahead, throw those on the track bar bracket, and we'll take that measurement and see where we're at. I went ahead, did that shim, pushed the axle over towards the driver's side, and now it's centered under the truck. So I'm really happy with that. And let me show you what it looks like under the truck with the shim installed. So as you can see, that's our shim. The bracket is painted, the shim isn't, and it was basically a press fit with that bolt in there, but it's nice and tight. The bolt is nice and tight to the shim, so all of this should be super solid. And as a matter of fact, believe it or not, that was a big reason why we purchased that laser, was for those shims to be able to get everything super nice, super tight. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Do not powder coat the shims. If you can talk to your powder coat shop, try and tell them to not powder coat in that pocket that the shim fits into. But other than that, again, everything should be good to go. Now that we have the axle centered under the truck, I'm gonna set the truck up to do our caster adjustments, and I'll show you that. Okay guys, so I'm gonna show you first the 3 key components that I use and that I found work best to check the caster on these trucks, these solid axle 05 Plus trucks, which it is the one thing that you want to have right on these trucks, if I'm honest with you. So if steering is feeling really light, or if the truck wanders a lot of highway speeds, or if when you're towing it handles just horribly, you probably don't have enough caster in your truck, especially if you're like running some lift springs without any caster compensation. So drop brackets or caster shims, or better yet, something like our fabricated radius arms or our 4-link kit. That's probably why your truck isn't handling at its best. It can even lead to death wobble if your caster isn't right. So this is very, very important. One of the reasons why I brought this back in-house is because it's getting harder and harder to find local shops that want to do stuff like this. Again, after that shop that closed, that kind of taught me a lot of this stuff, we had a really hard time finding a reliable alignment shop to do this for us. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna learn this myself, and I feel like I got it down pretty good. So these are the 3 key things that we use to check our caster. We have a turn plate. This is basically what you would find in an alignment rack. The front tires sit on here, and this basically allows you to turn the wheel, and as you can see, it has an angle gauge on it. We're gonna turn to 20 degrees to one side, and then sweep all the way to the other 20 degrees to the other side. And the reason why we do that is because this right here is the key to be able to get our alignment numbers. This tells us, as you can see right there, our caster degree. And you need to be able to accurately turn 20 degrees in both directions so that this thing tells you what the caster is actually at, which is where this plate that I made comes into place. So this plate will go where your hubs go. You'll remove your hubs, you'll bolt this to your hub, your lockout hubs. You'll bolt this to where your lockout hubs go. This tool centers on here, and now this is going to be perfectly centered with the axis of your wheel, I guess, and it'll give you the most accurate results. So let's go ahead and install this on the truck. This wheel, we already have it on the turn plate. I'm going to go ahead and install this plate on our hub right here. I already removed the lockout hub, and we're simply going to use the old 3 little screws that we took out to secure this. And there is different ways to do this, but this is by far the most simple way, at least for me, to do it that I found. There's no crawling under the truck or, like, you know, trying to make sure that you have everything in the exact spot that it needs to go. With this, you'll know every single time that you're in the right spot. This is another one of the reasons why I love that laser, because I can make stuff like this super accurate. Pop this bad boy in there, and there we go. Now I know that this is perfectly centered on our wheel, and it's going to give me the most accurate reading that I can get for this alignment. So now what we're going to do is that my beautiful wife behind the camera is going to jump in the truck, and again, we're going to turn, I believe it's outward first and then inward, and I'll show you the process. So I'll take over the camera. This thing basically tells you step by step on how to do this process. It's all laid out right there with instructions. I'm gonna set you guys up right here. I want to make sure that I get this right. Okay, so I just reread the instructions to make sure that I remember how to do this properly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn, as it says right here, 20 degrees out. So if you want to turn towards me, honey, hold that. Okay, so right there we're at 20 degrees. So what this thing tells us now is to set this level at 0. So we're gonna go ahead and, okay, so we have that at 0, and then set B bubble to 0 with the adjusting screw. 0 is right about there at 0. Okay, so now you're gonna go passenger. So we're gonna go passenger until we hit 20 degrees, which is right there. Hold that. A little bit more. Right there. Okay, so now what I believe is that we gotta set this one back to 0, but let me see. Set debubble to center again. Okay, so that's at center. And now we can read our caster, which is right at 5 degrees, which that's pretty good. So now I'm gonna do that same process on the other side, make sure that both are, I believe it's within half a degree of each other is where you wanna be at. I'll correct that if that's wrong. So I'm gonna go ahead again, do that off camera, and I'll let you know what we came up with. Now to do the steering wheel, it's actually pretty simple, especially with this beautiful RPM steering kit. All we gotta do is just turn this drag link and your steering wheel should start aligning. You can record the steering wheel turning. Oh, it's upside down.
Yeah.
Did we go over?
Yeah.
Why did you tell me?
You didn't ask me.
That's the whole reason why you were there. I told you to tell me.
You did not tell him. I'll tell you now.
I told you. Let me know when it's centered. This does help when you have a helper watching this.
No one can hear you, bitch.
But
no one can hear you.
it does nothing when she doesn't tell you when it's centered. Anyways, that is one of those things that, however, you're gonna have to drive it to make sure that it's nice and straight and it is where you want it to be. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead, torque whatever is left to be torqued, and we're gonna take this thing for a drive and then drive it all the way down to either Lake Havasu or Kingman. I'll see where I end up meeting him. But man, has been so much work, but I am so excited to be to this point. Such a beautiful truck. I'm gonna go ahead, get this done, and get this thing out of the shop because we have so many more trucks. They gotta come in. I mean, I gotta work on that thing. So yeah, let's get it done. What a crazy week it has been trying to get this truck finished, but we're finally there. The whole truck is done, and man, am I in love with this truck. Honestly, I think everybody here at the shop loves this truck, and I mean, nothing ever conveys over to video, but this is a beast of a truck. Like, it has such a big presence. Again, it's only a 4-inch lift on 37s, but it just looks huge. And honestly, I love that. At the same time, it's a very useful truck, the way that it's set up. And I think Leon is gonna be thrilled to be towing his boats for his business and everything that's gonna be doing with this truck. So much work went into this thing. We did our first Super Duty 4-link kit on it. We did limit straps. We did so much with this truck. The first RPM Super Duty steering that we've done here at the shop, and I mean, everything turned out so nice. I'm so happy with the truck overall. It's really not much, if anything, that I would change about the way that it turned out, and it's definitely gonna suck seeing it go, but luckily, thanks to Leon, we do have our own Super Duty that honestly is just as badass. I'm so excited to take the kit that we took off for this truck, put it on that truck, and do some more goodies with it. Again, Leon is going to be bringing this truck back for other upgrades that we're going to be basically using my truck to prototype, and I think I'm excited for it. I know Leon is excited for it, and trust me, you guys are also going to be very excited for what we have coming. Again, there's still so much more stuff left to do on this platform. You guys are loving it. I'm loving it, so I'm really excited for that. Everything that we have on this truck is on our website, blowingdiesel.com. Go check it out. Obviously, we have all the OBS stuff too. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much more to say. We're gonna be meeting Leon to deliver them the truck, and that's gonna be part of the next video. For now, I just wanted to get this thing completely done, show you guys the finished product. And yeah, here in the next couple of days, we're gonna go on a couple 100-mile road trip to see Leon and deliver him the truck. Again, very excited about that. If you guys are too, leave a comment, leave a like, hype the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.